What's up, everybody? Today's video is how Liverpool became great again, the Klopp effect. My name is Greg, an American living abroad in Spain, learning the beautiful game of football one reaction at a time with your help. And today's video is brought to you by Football Iconic, and they are iconic. They have great content. I will include a link in the description so you can go over there and show him some love, get him some more subscribers. I'm sure he would appreciate that. So this is Jürgen Klopp. Now, this is my first introduction to him. I know he's been around a while. He's an awesome coach and manager. At least that's what I understand. And Liverpool is like been in the news here lately for some unfortunate reasons and some of the transfers that people have left and joined them. So they've been in the news quite a bit here. So this is going to be, I think it's going to be great because I love hearing how coaches think, and this is going to be one of those instances. So before we get going here, I do want to say, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like the video. That way you can be a part of my football brain trust as we continue on this journey to learn the beautiful game of football. All right, let's go.
In a special Liverpool way, we can be successful. And please give us the time to work on it.
The last 4 years have been the greatest 4 years for Liverpool in the history of the Premier League. And I don't think that's a controversial take.
And this was, looks like, oh wow, 3 years ago now. So they've had even more success since then.
Champions again!
This is gonna be a long video.
Uh-oh.
No faffing about. Before going into anything else, I want to jump straight into some numbers to point out Liverpool's accrued points per season. Up to 2018, on average, over 26 Premier League campaigns, Liverpool won roughly 67 points per season. In the 4 years since, they've amassed an average of 89 points per season. And just so we're all on the same page on how significant of a number that is, the average points total, along with an average goal difference of plus 54, is enough to have won 17 of the 30 Premier League seasons to date. Now, I'm aware that they've actually only won one of those titles, but considering their upward trajectory and their ability to continuously compete against the current landscape's competition, it's hard to imagine that there isn't more to come. But we'll get into that in a bit. Liverpool of old, before the 90s at least, was the biggest team in England, no questions asked, no arguments, just stop. But in the 30 years after 1990, they didn't have the best of luck. In a relatively short amount of time, Liverpool have gone from a sleeping giant that was the butt of very many jokes to, in my opinion at least, the most exciting attacking team to watch in England, with a formidable defense to match. And they've become European champions and seem to have a standing spot in the Champions League finals. They're back where they belong. But how did all of this happen? Which is to say, how did Liverpool become great again?
Yeah.
Yo,
good intro.
What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. I'm Tinashe. Welcome back to another video. This is a highly requested one and also a topic that has been at the top of my list for a very, very long time. Just so we're all on the same page, I previously made a video on Liverpool's incredible history starting from the very beginning and leading up to their 2005 Champions League win. For added context on how incredibly successful and historically significant of a club this is, you can go ahead and check that one out. In this video, we're more or less going to pick up where we left off on that one. So, let's get into it.
All right.
Fresh off the comebacks of the Miracle of Istanbul in 2005, overturning a 3-0 deficit, and the 2000
Is that De Bruyne?
2006 FA Cup final.
No, I don't know who that is.
Miracle of Istanbul in 2005, overturning a 3-0 deficit, and the 2006 FA Cup final, overturning a 2-0 deficit, Rafa Benitez's Liverpool had established themselves as a team you simply do not take lightly. They even returned to the Champions League final in 2007, but this time, the result never went their way and they lost out. And speaking of losing out, the league title continued to be out of their reach. As I said, this was a trend that had been going on since 1990. And it was also a trend that wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. A prime Robbie Fowler, a prime Steven Gerrard, a prime Michael Owen, a prime Fernando Torres, all of them came and left the gates of Anfield without lifting a league title, which is of course a shame. particularly in the case of Stevie G, the longest-serving captain in the club's history and one of the most complete players the football world has ever seen. Seriously, the guy could do it all but win a Premier League. This was despite coming close a handful of times, notably in 2009 and in 2014. In 08-09,
what did he say, Stevie G?
Him, Dirk Kuyt, and Fernando Torres were directly involved in 62 goals in the
Oh yeah, okay. Gerard.
league alone. But sadly, this was not enough to dethrone triplet winners Manchester United, finishing 4 points adrift. Regardless, this performance in the league was actually quite impressive, especially considering the fact that Liverpool were facing some pretty serious financial problems at the time. Having purchased the club as recently as 2007, American owners at the time, Tom Hicks and George Gillett, had dug the club into hundreds of millions.
Are those... oh shoot. I wonder if they own American clubs. Gillette sounds familiar.
Of pounds of debt. Debt that was largely created through loans to purchase the club in the first place and then subsequently made the club's responsibility. Wait a minute. That sounds really familiar. By October 2010, the bank...
This guy, I love this guy. He always has little innuendos that I don't know what they are. So obviously that image that he just showed means something. Maybe someone out there could help me out.
That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, like these two guys.
By October 2010, the banks wanted their money. A £300 million sale was forced through, and Liverpool Football Club was under new ownership.
Oh, damn. Okay. 2010.
The owners? New England Sports Ventures, known these days and since 2011 as FSG, the Fenway Sports Group. Notably, they are also the owners of the Boston Red Sox, one of the most successful MLB teams of all time. We'll talk about them just now. They're also quite important to the story. So just a side note, I don't watch baseball. I know that the Boston Red Sox won the World Series as recently as 2018, but I'm curious to know 4 years later how good they actually are. Anyone that does watch baseball, feel free to let me know in the comments below.
Well, I mean, this year they're having a decent year. They started off bad. They made a trade, traded their all-star third baseman to the San Francisco Giants, and now they're actually playing a little bit better. So, but they haven't won, I don't think, since that 2018. Okay, anyway, back to football.
Can't tell you how happy I am. We're here to win. A quote made back in 2010 by the owner of FSG, John Henry. Looking back with 2022 vision, he clearly wasn't lying, although he'd have to wait a...
Oh, yeah, okay, that dude looks familiar. Oh, okay.
Looking back with 2022 vision, he clearly wasn't lying, although he'd have to wait a while before anything significant came along. While they did win the League Cup in 2011, the 3 years between 2010 and 2013 were, let's say, interesting. Yeah, interesting. 6th, 8th, and 7th, their finishing positions in that period. A loss in the 2012 FA Cup final, 4 full-time managers, and the signing of Andy Carroll for £35 million.
That sounds like it was not a good signing. The tone in his voice.
And
what's his name?
the
Andy
signing
Carroll?
of Andy Carroll for £35 million, a British transfer record. He scored 11 goals in all competitions for them over 3 years, which, if my maths is correct, is just over £3 million per goal. A solid investment. But it wasn't all bad. What we're doing here is something known as standing too close to the elephant. If we zoom out and adjust, we get the whole picture. While the
Is that Xavi?
addition of Luis Suarez led to alleged...
Dang. Oops. Suarez. I knew he looked familiar. He's of the MSN fame.
racial abuse and soft cannibalism, we get the whole picture. While the addition of Luis Suarez led to alleged racial abuse and soft cannibalism,
the racial abuse part is not funny. Soft cannibalism is.
why has he done that? He was just out of this world for Liverpool, particularly in 13-14. He missed the first 5 games of the season through suspension and ended up with 43 goal contributions, a total bested only by Thierry Henry in 2003. And if we want to...
Didn't he get... Okay. So, I know he got suspended when he was with MSN for biting also. But I feel like it was at his previous club or something. And then when he got to MSN, he had to sit out a few games. Is that right? Did he get suspended twice for biting somebody? Come on, man.
To talk efficiency in terms of goal contributions per appearance, this is the greatest individual Premier League season of all time.
Wow.
And again, he missed the first 5 games.
Oh my
Crazy.
God.
It still wasn't enough to win the title though. Picture this, 35 games into the Premier League season and you're sitting in pole position. Everything is in your hands and all you have to do is win the next 3 games and you're golden. Your captain even screams this at you after a crucial 3-2 win against Man City on match week 34. But 2 games later against Chelsea.
Oh,
that is tough.
That's when that happened? Oh, I've seen that before.
Against Chelsea.
Oh, come on. Oh,
man,
no.
That is tough. You draw your very next game, City eventually take it by 2 points, and the slip enters the Football Meme Hall of Fame immediately. Tough. Luis Suarez secured a move to Barcelona
Oh, okay. There we go.
directly after the season, but at least Liverpool got themselves a big bag of £65 million, a bag that helped them purchase the undisputed GOAT, Mr. Clutch himself, Divock Origi. Otherwise, Liverpool were back to the drawing board, from 2nd to 6th in the space of 2 seasons, and the departure of longtime legend, symbol, and captain Steven Gerrard meant that they were in need of some big changes. With Brendan Rodgers failing to emulate the character that previously made his team title contenders and a bad start to the 15-16 season, he was shown the door. In came a man we all know too well, Jürgen Klopp. As I said, Liverpool were in a bit of a fragile state at this point, which is why this appointment may have been confusing to some. At a very quick glance, Jürgen Klopp did not look like the man that could guide the Reds to where they needed to be. He was a 2-time Bundesliga winner with Borussia Dortmund and a Champions League runner-up back in 2013, yes. But fast forward to 2015, and he was coming off a 7th place finish in the Bundesliga with Dortmund. But looks can often be deceiving. As we've since found out, he was actually the perfect choice. The numbers don't lie. At this point, you're probably thinking, which numbers? The reason I think that's what you're thinking is because that's what I was thinking, I think.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to talk about baseball again for this part. Apologies to the purists out there, but this will only take a second, I swear. I'm guessing a lot of you guys watching this are familiar with Moneyball, a book released in 2003 that was adapted into a really good movie in 2011. Highly recommended. Anyway, this book is based on the real-life methods of evaluation used by the Oakland Athletics baseball team in the 2002 season. When scouting, instead of using basic statistics, the equivalent of goals and assists in baseball terms, advanced statistics were used when selecting suitable players. These are known as sabermetrics in baseball. In doing so, they were able to find hidden and undervalued gems that may not have otherwise been found, and also effectively find weaknesses in their own game that they could improve upon. Subsequently, they had a great season. A better season than many other teams that spent considerably more than them. John Henry paid close attention to this, and after FSG acquired the Red Sox in 2002, he even tried and failed to poach the Oakland Athletics general manager, Billy Beane. In any case, the Red Sox have since won 4 World Series titles that involve the use of advanced statistics in their scouting, game plan, and much, much more. Right. Back to football. Witnessing their success firsthand, FSG have since applied the same logic of using advanced statistics to football and even used those methods to scout Jürgen Klopp. Despite finishing 7th in the Bundesliga the year before, according to the models calculated by Liverpool's analytics team, Dortmund actually should have finished 2nd. Their advanced statistics and expected output greatly outperformed everyone but Bayern. They were just unlucky. Okay, so it may seem like I drew that point out for longer than I should have, but I think it's quite an important point, particularly because this is apparently how Liverpool have scouted the teams that they've put out in recent years, and it's a practice that lives on to this very day. On to the man himself. Jürgen Klopp was chosen as the Liverpool manager for reasons far beyond just numbers. At the base of it all, he is an insanely charismatic man. You don't need to dig too deeply to verify that. From his beaming smile and calm demeanor when addressing the press, to his animated touchline gestures, to his warm interactions with his players, the guy just oozes passion. And as for the fans, Liverpool has one of the most devoted fan bases in the world. For a manager to come in and amplify that passion, he's got to be something special. He comes across as really modest too.
Yeah, and he just looks cool.
that passion. He's got to be something special. He comes across as really
cool as in like just a chill, kind of cool dude. That's how he seems.
modest too, dubbing himself as the normal one in his first interview when the press were clearly trying to get a headline out of him.
I'm the normal one, maybe, if you want this.
I guess they succeeded. But it doesn't end there. Behind the smile, Klopp is a leader, strategist, and visionary all in one. He's clearly a tireless worker and is a student of every aspect of the game. He clearly has an open mind and embraces both the traditional tactical side of the game as well as the statistical analysis side. Quite notably, he's embraced the latter in England despite heavy pushback from certain sections of the media. Onto the pitch, and the man's setup and game plan has always been pretty attack-minded. And upon watching any of the teams that he's coached over the past decade and a bit, you quickly begin to realize why they're all so exciting. Exertion. These boys can run.
I like heavy metal more. I know it's not the most important statistic, but I love it when I read after the game that we run more than the opponent.
Heavy metal.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So he likes to outrun his opponents.
Important statistic, but I love it when I read after the game that we run more than the opponent.
Heavy metal. Since his early days at Dortmund, a hallmark of any Klopp side is their commitment to pressing, more specifically, gegenpressing. The reason why is simple. It's the best form of both attack and defense. The best moment to win the ball is immediately after your team just lost it. The opponent is still looking for orientation where to pass the ball. He will have taken his eyes off the game to make his tackle or interception, and he will have expended energy. Both make him vulnerable. What Klopp is essentially trying to say here is that he heavily believes in countering the counter. And it just so happens that if you do so successfully and win the ball deep in the opposition's half, where most counterattacks tend to start, you are now just 1 or 2 short actions away from a goal-scoring opportunity. But this style of play does have its shortcomings. It's impossible to counter every counter and block every passing lane, so a team needs to know when to stop the press and fall back into a traditional defensive block to avoid leaving gaps that do nothing but help the opposition's counter. And losing the ball too frequently can quickly exhaust.
I know, I'm just thinking about basketball. Hey, I know some of y'all out there probably saying, or some of you out there, you're probably saying, why you always talk about basketball? I just have a passion for it. I played it, coached it, and so it's my point of reference when it comes to sports in a lot of ways. But this is super similar to the press in basketball. You try and make the teams, work for the full game. You press them full court. We actually, when I coached, just a little story for you. It was at a Division III college, by the way, but we were a pressing team, and we had more players than most college teams have. We had 3 teams of 5 that practiced together, went into the game together. It was just like they would, about every minute and a half to 2 minutes, even if we had to foul the other team so we can get a fresh set of legs in there, that's what we did. So, and we just pressed the entire game. And we did it to try and create opportunities, get people to play a style that they weren't always used to playing, because you usually don't face the press a lot. So, and then also, like he said, if your opponent has the right talent in the right places, it can hurt the press. So that's kind of what he was saying.
Players that they have to consistently press. Accordingly, possession-based play can go a long way to helping resolve this problem. But above all else, the use of appropriate personnel is what really makes the system tick.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the side that Jürgen Klopp inherited when he first arrived, which honestly feels so strange to look at. Look, this team wasn't terrible, but it certainly wasn't elite by any means, nor was it able to implement the playstyle the new manager was looking to dish out. It needed a significant facelift. Thanks to all the changes, most notably a mid-season change in management, an 8th place finish was how the 15-16 season ended. They made it to the Europa League finals that year, which is good stuff, but from the following year onwards, that's when the real work began. One of the main reasons that Liverpool is such a well-run machine these days is how efficiently everything runs from top to bottom. But no matter how you look at it, it all starts from upstairs. Jürgen Klopp, the manager, Michael Edwards, as of July 2022, the former sporting director, and Mike Gordon, the president of FSG and managing owner of the club. All three worked in tandem to make all the football-related decisions pertaining to the operating of the club, and among other aspects, that included recruitment. All had their own teams, all reported back to one another, and all worked in unison. This backroom team is what made the Liverpool that we watch week in and week out a reality. Knowing that they were incapable of going toe-to-toe with the likes of Manchester City when it came to available funds in the transfer market, Liverpool had to work smarter and pick their targets carefully. I mean, listen, they weren't pinching pennies or anything. They are a major European football club, but I'm sure you get what I mean. Sadio Mane?
Damn, that's like Moneyball. That's super interesting.
Or anything. They are a major European football club, but I'm sure you get what I mean. Sadio Mane, Joel Matip, and Jojo Wijnaldum were the most prominent pieces of the initial crop to come in. 1 year later, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Andrew Robertson, Mohamed Salah, and Virgil van Dijk were in. In total, all of the above-mentioned players cost £203 million. A large chunk of change, but not all that bad when you consider that all of these players have significantly outperformed their valuation following their signing.
You know, this is an interesting question. So, I know people might think this is weird, but the Dodgers, their general manager came from kind of the world of Moneyball. I mean, he was at the Tampa Bay Rays before. They didn't have a lot of money, so he used the same idea of Billy Beane. And then when he went to the Dodgers, he had the same idea. They looked for stats, you know, different metrics and everything, but they had money. So that means that they were able to pay more to the people that were on the edges. So it improved their role players and things like that. So my question is, I'm wondering if there is a team that does the Moneyball idea, but they have money, like the Dodgers. Anybody know?
At this point, 3 years in, the season-by-season change of the squad was so visible, it was actually quite frightening. Here's a chart showing Liverpool's goals scored starting from Klopp's arrival up to the 17-18 season. The uptick isn't too surprising as this team never had problems scoring, and the addition of Salah in particular only fanned the flame. Here is a chart showing their goals conceded in the same period. In my eyes, this is the visual that best describes the team's meteoric rise. To me, the improvement in defense is far more impressive than the attacking output. They were starting to look.
Yeah, let's look at that. By 2017-18, they had an increase in goals scored and a decrease in goals conceded. I mean, that sounds like a winning formula to me.
Improvement in defense is far more impressive than the attacking output. They were starting to look like the Liverpool of old. But they weren't done yet. A loss to Real Madrid in the Champions League final that year, thanks to some dizzying mistakes, meant that they were still lacking in crucial departments. Departments that were filled courtesy of this guy. That's right. That's Neymar. A funny statement, and also an oversimplification, but it's definitely not far from the truth. PSG by Neymar for £200 million. Barcelona by Coutinho and Dembele for £200 million. 105 million of which goes to Liverpool. And Liverpool, who were probably already going to make these purchases, can now comfortably buy Fabinho and Alisson for a combined £95 million. Add in Trent Alexander-Arnold and Jordan Henderson, who were already at the club, one of which was a youth product, and just like that, what you have.
Who was?
Henderson, who were already at the club, one of which was a youth.
Henderson? And Henderson transferred, right? To Madrid, I think.
Product. And just like that, what you have is a group of players that you can use to build a legacy. This is a very difficult league. Opponents may be bigger, but in a special Liverpool way, we can be successful. I don't want to say we can wait 20 years. If we sit here in 4 years, I think we win one title. If I don't win the next one, maybe it will be in Switzerland. I played a short clip of this quote in the intro. Klopp said this all the way back in 2015 when he joined the Reds. To be fair, he was speaking about the league here, which he didn't win in 4 years. But let's just say he isn't in Switzerland just yet. The 18-19 season was one of the greatest seasons in Premier League history, and certainly one of Liverpool's best. Actually, it wasn't one of the best. At the time, it was the best season that Liverpool had ever played in the Premier League era. The defense consisted of quick, powerful players that all pressed high, with Van Dijk at the heart. We quickly found out that Andrew Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold are a generational fullback duo, not only defenders, but playmakers too. I wouldn't be surprised if the pings Alexander-Arnold produces are illegal in some countries. Disgusting. A midfield three of tireless runners that covered any holes left by their teammates, embodied heavy metal football, and had the technique to play as both defenders or attackers if required. And then we have the front three of Mane, Salah and Firmino that directly contributed to 91 goals in all competitions. Firmino relentlessly defending from the front, and Salah and Mane finishing whatever came their way. 30 games won, 1 game lost, 89 goals scored, 97 points. At that point, the 97 points Liverpool earned in the 18-19 season would have easily won every other Premier League campaign before it. All but two, one of which was the 18-19 season. The other was the season directly before it. Both won by Manchester City. Very tough. It was crazy unfortunate, but this year was still a very historic year. We've already talked about how Liverpool made it to the Champions League final the year before and lost out. As we'll soon find out, a major strength about this team is their ability to lose and bounce straight back. And so they did. A 2-0 win against Tottenham Hotspur in the final earned them their 6th European Cup. The final itself was great, sure, but we all know what the most memorable moment from this campaign was.
Corner taken quickly, Origi!
3
What?
moments from this campaign was.
Corner taken quickly, Origi!
3-0 down against Barcelona going into the second leg of the semi-final that year, and they were missing both Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino to injury. You would have been a fool to think Barca weren't already on their way to the final. Before this match, Klopp urged his players to just try. If we can do it, wonderful. If not, then fail in the most beautiful way. And this goal was the goal that made the match 4-3 in Liverpool's favour. Iconic. Just going back to the league, I'd actually be so hacked if I were a Liverpool supporter and this happened. No league trophy in almost 3 decades, and when you're destined to break the cycle, a tiki-taka merchant ruins it all.
Oh God.
So what do you do when you have your best season?
That sounded bad. I wasn't saying, I don't know why I said, oh God. I like a pep. I don't know why I said that, but it sounded like I was saying something bad about it. My bad.
Tiki-taka merchant ruins it all. So what do you do when you have your best season ever and still lose? Well, quite obviously, you have your best season ever again, better than the lost, and leave absolutely no room for debate on your way to the top. There were no major additions that season, and the game plan was left largely unchanged. However, the instructions must have been more or less familiar to the players at that point. More energy. They broke the record for the best start in the history of the top 5 leagues, winning 26 of their first 27 games and drawing once. And at one point, they had opened up a 25-point gap at the top, the biggest gap at any point between first and second in English top flight history. And the result was Liverpool's first league trophy in 30 years, their 19th in total. The boys were back. Unfortunately, nobody can keep up such a ridiculous level of output indefinitely. While many believe that Liverpool would go on to dominate the very next year, a mixture of bad luck, fatigue, and horrendous tackles meant that they were facing a pretty serious injury crisis. Almost every Liverpool player suffered some sort of injury over the course of the season, missing anywhere from 1 game to dozens. But nowhere was this more prevalent than in central defense. All 3 of Van Dijk, Matip, and Gomez suffered long-term injuries, and thanks to the shuffling that was required as a result of this, the team suffered. Many naysayers were convinced that this was the end of Liverpool's renaissance. So it must have been tough for them when they came back with a fully fit squad the next year and got right back into it. They were in contention for
Good. Glad they didn't fire Klopp or sack him, as we say in football.
every trophy they participated in until the very end, playing 63 out of 63 games available to them. Unfortunately, their regular rivals Man City and Real Madrid beat them out again in the league and the European Cup. But at the very least, the League Cup, and the FA Cup were theirs. Just to recap, in the last 4 years, Liverpool have won the English Premier League, the UEFA Champions League, the FA Cup, and the League Cup. And I've yet to mention that they've also won the UEFA Super Cup and the Club World Cup. It's incredible stuff. But I've mentioned this in another video. I'm not sure which one it was, and I can't really be asked to go back and look. But in my opinion, I strongly believe that this trophy haul is not a true reflection at all of how good these guys actually are. In this period, they've lost 2 European Cup finals. And that's not even to mention the Europa League final they lost in 2016. And they finished as runners-up in the league by a single point twice. In retrospect, people typically only look at the winners of each competition. So in 10, 20, 30 years, I fear that Liverpool may not be given the props that they actually deserve, which is a shame. I mean, I know we are currently living in this era and there is still time for them to change that. And I'm not saying they've been hard done by or anything. I think City and Madrid were worthy winners in each instance, but I'm hoping you get what I mean. To even get near what Liverpool has done is a masterclass in its own right. And much of the props has to go to this guy, Jürgen Klopp, the normal one. Him and his team have completely turned Liverpool's fortunes around. According to Forbes, Liverpool's team valuation has gone from about $980 million US when he joined in 2015 to roughly $4.5 billion.
Oh, wow.
Of course, as I've already said, Klopp isn't the only one that's responsible for this. Liverpool's team of analysts and an owner with an insatiable winning appetite are the ones that brought him in the first place. All the same, what he's done with the team and what the players themselves have accomplished is nothing short of incredible. Recently, Klopp signed an extension which will see him stay at Liverpool until 2026, meaning that if the contract is fulfilled, he will be at the club for 11 years by the end of it. He is already Liverpool's longest-serving manager.
2026? Oh no. So does that mean next year might be his last year? I wonder if he signed an extension or anything.
For 11 years by the end of it. He is already Liverpool's longest-serving manager in the Premier League era, beating out Rafa Benitez in second. So he's already a legend, and the story is far from over. Even with big players like Sadio Mane leaving and the spine of the squad getting up there in age, I have no doubt Liverpool will be able to rebuild in a way few other teams can. The reason I say this with such confidence is that they've already proven they can, and they have a system in place for it. Before we finish this one up, I want to leave you all with a quote from a man that every Liverpool supporter loves. Wayne Rooney. In 2020, following his league title win, Klopp was asked if he believed Liverpool could dominate like Manchester United once did. He firmly believed this was not possible. Rooney's response to this was, Klopp says it's impossible, but he is wrong. There's a simple way for Liverpool. Let Klopp go on and on. United dominated because Fergie stayed so long. If Klopp, who was only 53, stayed at Anfield for the next 10 years, Liverpool would win at least 5 Premier League titles. He could keep building great sides because players join clubs to work with managers as good as him. And there we have it. A brief look into how Liverpool got their mojo back after years of disappointment. If you like, leave a like. If you dislike, hit the dislike button twice, and also let me know what you think about Liverpool in the comments below. And if you want, feel free to follow me on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, it's all in the description. Anyway, that's all from me today. Really hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're all staying safe. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Oh man, I like that dude. He is so good. He has great content. All right. Man, dang. So Liverpool is no joke. Next year is going to be good. I can't wait. So this is a great video. Thanks for the recommendation. Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned it was a recommendation. This was recommended by D Cynic. A lot of people have recommended something on Klopp. So there's a lot of people out there who are recommended, but I did want to say thanks to D Cynic 6460. Great video. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. As always, thanks for stopping by, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.